Hi, I'm Jay Rodne, your state representative from the 5th District. Thanks for joining me today from the House of Representatives here in Olympia. We're now in the last week of the 2010 legislative session. From now until our scheduled adjournment on March 11th, state lawmakers will be considering hundreds of bills, including the state's supplemental operating, transportation, and capital budgets. I'd like to talk today about the operating budget because it's the largest and most important of the three state budgets. As you know, the operating budget pays for our K-12 schools, corrections, public safety programs, government and judicial operations, and health and human services. It's a two-year budget, and this year we are making mid-course adjustments. Unfortunately, this budget faces a $2.7 billion shortfall. There are two reasons for this deficit. First, our state economy has struggled, and this has hurt tax collections and state revenues. But what cannot be overlooked is the explosion in state spending that took place over a four-year period from 2005 to 2009. And that is why I voted against these operating budgets. Our state actually had a $1.8 billion surplus at one point. Simply put, in good times, state government grew too large. And we're facing the consequences of these poor budgeting decisions today. So how do we solve the problem? I think there are two very different approaches that have been proposed here in Olympia. The majority party in the House and Senate are proposing nearly $1 billion in new tax increases, along with using federal dollars, state fund transfers, state reserves, and some cuts to fill the budget gap. I don't support this approach. First, families and small businesses cannot afford any new tax increases. I think this action would only slow and hurt our economic recovery. I'm also disappointed that the majority party and governor suspended Initiative 960, the Taxpayer Protection Act, prior to unveiling their new tax increase proposals. The people of the state put these protections in place for this very economic and budget situation that our state finds itself in today. I'm also worried that by relying so much on federal dollars and one-time state fund transfers and so little on true government reform, we're only kicking our problem down the road that will even be more serious over time. And we cannot forget that looming problems in our state workers' compensation, health care, and pension systems could put us on a path toward California-type budget implosion. So what should we do about this problem, and how do we solve it? First, I believe we must take all new tax increases off the table. I think this will give families and small businesses certainty in moving forward, and it would force government to reform. Second, we must return to a priorities of government model of budgeting that was used successfully in a bipartisan way in 2003 when Governor Locke and Senator Rossi joined together to pass a no-tax budget. This was the last time a responsible operating budget was put forward and passed. Prioritizing government means fully funding education, public safety programs, and services for our most vulnerable citizens. When our state spends hundreds of millions of dollars on running liquor stores, workers' compensation insurance programs, and other programs that could be handled by the private sector, it's at the expense of what I think are these other more important priorities. Finally, we must also reform our budget process. This means creating a framework for state budgeting that ensures sustainability and transparency going forward. For example, there are bills that we could vote on today that would require extra state revenue to be deposited in the state's rainy day fund during good economic times, require the legislature to adopt a balanced budget, and establish a state spending limit. These are not partisan ideas. I think they're principles that responsible families and small businesses follow each and every day, and they are especially important in these tough economic times. The last point I'd like to make is this. There are too many in Olympia who feel the best way to raise state revenue is to raise new taxes. There must be an understanding that creating jobs is the best way to create new state revenue, and that's my focus here in Olympia. Unfortunately, that's all the time I have with you today. I'd like to say again that it's a true honor for me to serve as your state representative. Please contact my office if you ever need any help or have any questions. My contact information will be provided below. Again, I'm your state representative, Jay Rodne. Take care and have a great day. Thanks.